we bought single and we sold them, and we did good because it's pricing and doing things. And it's selling the excitement, the sizzle, and then the service and the experience. And I think when people walked in our stores, they knew that we appreciated them. We knew that the dealers were in, that the partners were in, and there wasn't a time that we needed to advertise. There's never a day that one of us is not here. So we work Sundays, we work Saturdays, we worked here late nights, and all those things offer you the opportunity to separate yourself from someone else. You can buy a car, it's a commodity from A, B, C, or D. Why buy it from me? And what we offered was something different that I think that somebody else wasn't prepared at that time.
Today, I'm joined by Mario Murgado, CEO of Murgado Automotive Group. After arriving in America as a young boy and refugee from communist Cuba, Mario set out to build his own American dream and defy every expectation along the way. We talk about his dramatic journey, the growth model fueling his expansion into underserved communities, and the strategies behind his dealership acquisitions, plus a lot more. His journey is very powerful, authentic, and easily one of my favorite stories since starting this podcast. I can't wait for you to hear it. A big thank you to our sponsors for making today's episode possible: Lot Links, Wide Whale, and Nomad Content Studio. And now let's get into the show. Mario Murgado on the CDG podcast. Mario, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Good to have you here, man. I was just saying your website definitely made my job a bit easier because you spelled out, a big part of your life on there. So it would be nice if everyone had one of those. Did you put that together?
Yeah, we did. That's a long time ago. I started a company, Innovative Internet. We opened it up in 1995, just when the internet was coming in. So we did a few different things. We were doing websites for universities. We were preparing them for FIU and other universities as well. And then we grew that further along and just finished, selling it just recently.
Oh, wow. So you were in the tech business. I didn't know that.
It was, it's really, I have a partner, it's Jack Supportis. And, I always liked the way he worked. I always well worked with him, and it was his to go run. And I first backed it up and supported it. And we did a lot of things together, and very proud of it. It was very interesting times. If you recall, when 1995 came around and the internet, there were people who either hated it or were afraid of it or said that'll go away. Well, those that hated it had to learn how to love it. Those that said it'll go away, they're wrong. They may not be around anymore anyways. So everything changed there. And it was a wonderful experience, wonderful change. But I really saw it more than anything, a great educational way. When I looked at what we did at the schools, the things we did with certain universities of being able to have multiple languages available from easily to be able to translate things really quick to Spanish or something else. That was a phenomenal thing. That was a great tool at that time. Today, there's many more advanced tools than that, but that was a good start for us.
I mean, look, here's what I'll say. I know I have a gray beard going here, but I was going through my terrible twos in 1995, so I don't remember too much. But I do study history, so I'll give you that.
You got it.
A small detail that I noticed. I don't know if this is me just looking into things or maybe there is something there, but you had like 4 or 5 pictures of lighthouses on your website.
Yeah.
Is this just you like the vibe, or are you like into lighthouses? Or?
No.
I was just interested.
It's a great story. So when I came to this great country, I came alone without my parents, and then my mother came, and then my father came afterwards. I had met someone that was from the Navy, and he told me that lighthouses has always brought sailors home. So your father will find his lighthouse and he'll be here. So it's always meant something to me, to the point that's my personal logo. So if I write to you something on my personal stationery, it's a lighthouse. If I go play golf with you, my golf ball has a lighthouse. If I have a hat, it'll have a lighthouse. And it's always been something, that means, has great significance for me, of having my father come, having something that someone inspired me, encouraged me at a moment when I was down, and I've never forgotten.
That's incredible. You see, initially I ran it through ChatGPT. I actually screenshotted the pictures on your website and I put it through ChatGPT, and I was like, he probably has like a second home in like Martha's Vineyard or something. And he's just like, enjoys it there. And then I'm like, wait, a lighthouse in Maine. Then it was a lighthouse in Florida. I was like, all right, there's a bigger, broader pattern here. So I did my, all my forensics, but I'm glad that there's something there. That's really cool. It's a cool story. So what can you tell us about just coming here as a kid from Cuba and, growing up in the US? That's obviously, just massive transition in early childhood. What was that like, from as much as you can remember?
I'll take you back to that time, but at this time here, I'll just say to you, really the thought that has always been in my mind has always been blessed and grateful. blessed to be able to be in this great country, grateful to be in this country and have the opportunities that have been afforded to me. And sometimes opportunities that not everyone sees, but really when it comes to immigrants, I think they see how powerful, how incredible this country is, and that it's still the land of opportunities. But taking you back at that time, it was a moment where, frankly, fear comes in. And one of the things that first night that you're here and the first night that you're with the foster parent, darkness was something. So I never liked darkness. But again, I had someone in the morning tell me, every day it's going to get dark. And every morning there'll be morning. So no matter what happens in that day, no matter what challenges you have, no matter what difficulties, no matter what situations, light will come tomorrow. And that motivated me in a very strong way to say, well, every day when the light comes, I don't want anyone to take my light. I want to make sure that I get it. I want to make sure that I enjoy it. I want to make sure that I take advantage of it. So it's always stimulated me at a very young age. But that would be the first thing. It was fear of the unknown. You lose your childhood like this and you mature very, very quickly because you have to start doing things for yourself. But I was blessed to have my mother within months. And then later on a year, my father, a little over a year.
Can you walk me through that? Because I missed a foster parent.
So this is what happens. In Cuba, there was a group called Pedro Pan. Mm-hmm. That's a group of kids from 1959 till about 1962, 63. There was over 14,000. I always call them our pride, nuestro orgullo, because they came to this country. They were separated and they came to the Catholic Church. The church at that time worked with parishioners all throughout the country and had foster parents who took care of these kids like that. And it was very successful. It was 14,000 kids spread all over in Oklahoma, in Texas, in Nebraska, Montana, Illinois, New York, Pennsylvania, all throughout. And some got reunited with their parents. Some never got reunited with their parents. They were a little older. They were between the ages of 9 and, let's say, 15 on an average. I would say if you take a look at them, been very successful group of Cuban young men and women that came to this country. I came in at that 65. When I come in, it's the beginning of the freedom flights. And the freedom flights, my father wasn't allowed to go. They said my mother can leave, but my sister couldn't leave, and she was 6 months old. So what mother's going to leave a baby? But my mother and my father made the decision, not a problem. Mario can go. And through the church, they had someone as a foster parent, and there's always, they say, 6 degrees of separation. I think between Cubans we're about 2 degrees of separation because someone knew this person that was an aunt of mine. So it's afforded me the opportunity to have someone knew that through the church took care of me for a period before my parents came.
Mm-hmm. I got to ask you, have you been back since?
So I went back. I never had gone back. I had only gone back through the Navy. I had gone to Guantanamo. And then in 2016, when they started to do trips to Cuba and Obama had done that and opened that up, I saw in the car industry, Audi launch a car there. Volkswagen was launching a car there. So there's a gentleman who was the designer for Infinity, Alfonso, and he decided to bring the Q60 to launch there. So I went there when they launched that car, and I was there for a couple days when they launched that car there. And it was, it's deja vu, and at the same time, it's sad because you think and you see what it could be, and you see what it is, and that reality certainly makes you appreciate where you're coming from. Certainly makes you grateful for being in America, and certainly bothers you to see that a country that was so far advanced did so well before that, not in that situation again.
What do you attribute that to? Is it governance, communism?
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's absolutely communism. It's look, we live in a country that has rules, laws, but you have freedom, and that freedom allows you a lot of opportunities with a lot of liberties. When you go down there, those are taken away. If you looked at anything and you looked up, you like investigating Cuba pre-1959, you would find out what an advanced country it was. First place that had color TV after America. First place that had a doctor for every 957 populations. For every 957 people who lived in the country, there was a doctor already. Literacy at a high rate, advancements in technology, advancements in engineering, advancements in construction, first air conditioning retail store, 7 floors, all air conditioning before America had it, electricity before Spain had it, to a great extent. So the advancement that were there were very, very strong. The growth simultaneously, the dollar and the peso, which is a Cuban, were at 101, 102 to 1 a couple of times, for Cuba being 2 pennies more than the American dollar in value. So it advanced very, very much. Winter ball, when baseball finished here, there was winter ball there. So the advancements were there. But it was a time also when America, after World War II, to fight communism, they supported dictators. So the dictator, and everyone in life doesn't want to have a dictator, whether it be good or bad. I would say if they had a chance to think it over again, would they have been happy keeping Batista versus Castro? I would say absolutely, unanimously, probably. But that's a time when you put the Shah in Iran. That's a time when you had Marcos in the Philippines. That's a time when you had, Franco in Spain. And that's a time when you had, Batista in Cuba. And that evolved. That revolution comes, and that revolution goes the wrong way. It turns into communism, which is bad for America because 90 miles away, you have a communist state at a time when the Cold War was pretty much getting into its highest peak, and you had them really 90 miles away there, so that was a problem. You had later on the crisis of October, which is a missile crisis, when they were trying to bring nuclear bombs to Cuba to have them 90 miles away from America, so that was also very dangerous. So it was a terrible time, and it was a society that has been deprived. There's no reason to motivate you. There's no reason to stimulate you to do certain things. There's no reason. I would tell you, if you look at the population today, they probably have lost millions of youth. And when a country loses their youth, that's kind of the end.
This episode is brought to you by LotLinks. Want to move metal faster and make more on every deal? It's all inside the machine. LotLinks helps you take the guesswork out of inventory decisions. Their VIN manager shows you in real time which cars to stock, how to price them, and where to put your ad dollars so you're not wasting a cent. It's like having a crystal ball for your lot so you can buy smarter, price better, and sell quicker. Check out lotlinks.com, that's LOTLINX.com, or hit the link in the show notes below and see how the LotLinks machine can power your dealership. That's an incredible history lesson. So I'll look deeper into that, but definitely learned a couple things there.
Thank you.
Talk to me. So you're a young guy here in the U.S., clearly very ambitious and hungry to do, right? You've kind of come out of this place where you have no freedom and ability, and suddenly here, the land of opportunity. What brought you into the car business?
I always loved cars. So my father, we were humble and poor, but always, the magazines and reading was always something that he pushed me on. So he always pushed me to read the paper. I'll tell you a quick story. In the second grade, he goes, we got to get the paper so you can read every day. In second grade, you really can't read the paper. You don't have that ability yet. But I said, we're poor. We can't have the paper. So he goes, go across the street to Mr. Granzel and tell him to give you yesterday's paper that he's going to throw away. And I said to my dad, thinking that I was smart, well, listen, that's old. It'll be one day old. He goes, if you're one day behind in life, you're okay. But that one lesson taught me to read the paper every day. By the time I was in the 4th grade, I could fly through the paper. By the time I was in the 5th grade, I could devour the paper very, very easy. So what did it do? As a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, it gives you tremendous exposure to what's happening in the world, what's happening locally, what's happening nationally, what's happening in the world. And that was a great gift. It gives you the opportunity to have conversations with people, be able to discuss many things, and to be able to learn in a quick way. But from there, he said to me, what do you like in the cars? So I can name every car. I can name by the exhaust, or I can look at the lights. And those cars in those days, in the 60s, in the 70s, tremendous character. The brands had character. It was a muscle car era. It was a luxury era. And I remember my father telling me, if you work hard and you become a professional and you go to school, one day you can drive a Buick or you can drive an Oldsmobile. But if you ever make it, you can drive a Cadillac. That was symbolic at that time there. And then he took me to a store, which is my first store that he ever took me, which is in Barrington, the Cadillac store. And when I walked in that store and I got to meet the owner, and that's 49 years ago, and that was a very impressive thing for me at that time, seeing a brand new car dealership, smelling a brand new car dealership. So it was always in the back of my mind, even though I went to school, even though I studied everything, it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to learn more about.
You worked at Brayman, is that right?
Yeah, I worked at Brayman almost 20 years, 19 and a half years.
Incredible. Would you say, is that really where you learned the business, and what was that like for you?
Sure. Norman Brayman's an icon. I had an opportunity to work for him. Had the opportunity, in life, people always think it's me or yourself, and you have to have certain breaks. And that break that I had was have the opportunity to prove myself, have the opportunity to learn, and have the opportunity to have the backing of someone like that, because that's very important. You're talking a gentleman who has a mega dealership. You're talking a gentleman who had an NFL football team. You're talking a gentleman who was a distributor for Sterling when he brought it to this country, and vice versa. But I had that opportunity to go learn. I had that opportunity to express my abilities and my knowledge and my collaborations by those opportunities were afforded to us here. We had a Honda store. We moved it up well. Later on, we had a chance to become chief operating officer to run a BMW store, a Rolls Royce store, a Bentley store, an Audi store, a Porsche store, and build that out also as well. And had the chance to develop stores, build stores with him. So I had 2 Honda stores that we had built and make them top performers.
As you were growing within that organization, did you have any formal education, or were you learning just at the dealership? What was that like for you? How did you actually, because today you are operating an empire, and we'll talk about, we'll get into that, but you've come a long way from, being a young kid, picking up the paper and working at a dealership and rising the ranks. So what was your educational process like?
So I took college credits when I was in high school. I was pretty much had my AA degree almost when I got out, finished my AA degree. Then I got my bachelor's degree. I studied economics and business. And then I had marketing also as well that I took on to learn. Then later on, just apply those things as I was going through.
Okay. So you had like a combination of formal education and, in the dealership education.
Look, education is, I tell everyone, it's important. Is it required? No, you can do very well in our business too, but it's important. What's the importance of it? It opens your mind. It exposes you to different things. But what it gives you really the most is discipline, because it gives you the discipline to go figure things out. And that's what's important about it. When you walk out of school, if you did marketing, doesn't mean you can get a job, or doesn't mean that you know how to go build a marketing campaign for someone. You have ideas, but you have the discipline to go figure things out. What are the needs? What are the analysis you have to do? What are the things you have to prepare? How do you go about it? So those are the things that are important. Economics I always loved, because the world is numbers. And when you think about that and how does it move? So understanding economics, understanding micro, understanding macro, how does that apply? But there's nothing like this business for me.
And it teaches you how to learn. I think that's you learn how to learn. I think that's what's really important. So let's fast forward to 2001. You bought 2 stores in Brickell. Mm-hmm. This was your entrance into being your own dealer principal. Tell us about that experience. How did you learn about this opportunity? Why did you decide to take the risk? What was that like?
May 21st, 2001, 8:08 p.m. You don't forget. When you sign your life away.
Wow.
You don't forget when you
like that.
You don't forget when you sign your life away. The reality is this. I wanted to go look at another store. I was in that process of buying a store in Sacramento, California. When I was doing that process, it's because I had worked with someone that was in my 20 group for many years, didn't have anyone to sell us, really didn't have any children to take over the business. And I told him, listen, let me buy your business. You can have your office. You can keep your office. You can come to work every day, but let me buy the store so I can do things. And we had always had a great working relationship. I had done his pay plans. I had done many things to help him. But at the end of the day, I decided to stay in Miami. And when I decided to make that stay in Miami, it was important that I look for the cheapest store that I think I could buy, a store that was in dire straits. So the Honda store was selling 16 cars a month. The Pontiac GMC store was only 6 cars a month, 22 used cars, and it was losing money, hemorrhaging every single month. So it was a tough deal. It was a broken store, but it was an opportunity. And, to someone's junk is someone's treasure. So at that time when I looked at it, to me, it's my treasure. It's my opportunity. And that's how we started.
How did you turn that store around?
Really, I have 2 partners that came with me, both Rick Barraza and Alex Andreos, both 2 individuals that I care, love, and have been with me. Rick's been with me 44 years, Alex 28 years, and we turned it around by working hard, rolling our sleeves up. We started with 3 employees, And if you worked for me somewhere else, you wanted to come and work for me, and I couldn't bring you because I would be doing you an injustice to come because I have to build the store. My office was downstairs in a corner office that I created. Alex would sit here, facing forward. I would sit in the corner to work there. Take the door off if you had to, off the hinges, or open it up so people understand we have an open door policy as we do it, and we did everything. From selling to service, everything. The only thing I didn't do was know how to fix cars because I'm not a technician. But we build it like that and build it quickly. And this is in May 21st. Guess what happens in 9/11? So 9/11 comes around, and that's another challenge that you have at that time. And when that challenge comes at that time, the greatest marketing campaign I've seen by General Motors and by anyone was put America back on the road again in 2001. And as bad as things turned, as quickly as also we had the opportunity to have a lift. And we worked very hard to turn a profit every single month, worked very hard to go build consistency, and we were able to do that.
Mario, you clearly took a lot of risk, but you also had, you were exposed to this opportunity. Do you think opportunities like this still exist? I mean, 16 cars a month at the Honda store. I feel like you could put, a brick wall and sell more cars than that nowadays at a Honda store. Is that, have times changed?
Everyone thinks like that, but it's really not as easy. You had to go put down $5.5 million. So if you didn't save money, you couldn't buy it.
Material risk.
Then you had to put working capital. You had to get $4 million in working capital for both of these stores. You had to go to a bank. A bank doesn't want to loan you. So I had a relationship with someone special, Tom Cornish, and I remember Tom saying, "Hey, forget the financial statement. Write me a pro forma and write me a business plan so you can take it." Maybe today that's not as easy as it was then. And then every Thursday they would meet for credit, and that's when they decided they approve you or don't approve you. And they had Centrust Bank approve me and help me there. And Tom helped me from a rate wise and everything else to be able to do that and paid that loan quickly. So you can do other things again, and you can reinvest again more. Throughout really my 24 years here, it's been reinvesting in the company, reinvesting in the company. We'll pull out, but it's always reinvesting because that's the only way to grow. Do they exist? They exist. Are they more limited? Yes. I think the problem is that most people, you have to decide what you want to do. If you buy a business to have a business, or if you buy a business to have a job. So I always bought it to have a business. If it's to have a job, you can run that one store, you can make X dollars in that store, and you can be happy with that. But the world today, I think, has changed much faster. And as it does, either you grow with it, you run towards that change, you embrace that change, or you're going to fall behind. Doesn't mean you can't exist. You can run a Honda store, you can be a single Honda store operator, and you can do very well. You can be a Toyota, and you can do very well, and others. But I always wanted to see a business. I always wanted to see how we can grow that business. And it was growing the Honda store. It was growing, at that time was Pontiac and GMC. Look, we walked into it, had a terrible inventory. I remember a car called the Aztec. Ugly car, terrible car. But guess what? It was a car that if I ordered it in a certain way, we could sell it. And we taught the sales force to say, listen, forget the looks on the outside. Let's look at everything that's good on the inside. And from the inside, let's give you the best value. So it was a car that instead of being $30,000, we would order the car at $22,000, $21,000. And then there was $4,000 in support incentives that came in. So where could you buy a car for $17,000? That good, brand new, instead of a used car? And we sold them very well. We were a top Aztec dealer at that time. There was a car called the Sunfire in Pontiac. It was a 4-door small compact car. Again, we were reaching it well, priced it right, and we could do a good job there. There was trucks. We said, young men would love to be in trucks. Everyone says, no, nobody buys those single, without the extended cab or without the cab itself. And, we bought single and we sold them, and we did good because it's pricing and doing things. And it's selling the excitement, the sizzle, and then the service and the experience. And I think when people walked in our stores, they knew that we appreciated them. We knew that the dealers were in, that the partners were in, and there wasn't a time that we needed to advertise. There's never a day that one of us is not here. So we work Sundays, we work Saturdays, we worked here late nights, and all those things offer you the opportunity to separate yourself from someone else. You can buy a car, it's a commodity from A, B, C, or D. Why buy it from me? And what we offered was something different that I think that somebody else wasn't prepared at that time. And that's the dealers are always in.
You mentioned the need for growth, or how you view it. And I would say something similar, where it's like, are you working in the business or on the business? I think that's the way I tend to look at it. Do you think that we're heading to a world where single point dealerships,
right? Just single point. I mean, no, non-groups are going to disappear. Like, do you think with at the rate of change that we're experiencing, right, are they just going to be incredibly disadvantaged to the point where they're going to sell out? What's your prediction or take on that?
No, I think they'll be around. I think that there's going to be a lot of multiple chances for them. In rural areas, I think they'll be around. In areas that are smaller, I think they'll be around. And then even in big cities, they'll be around. If it's a single point that you want to pass on to your son or your daughter and vice versa, their costs is completely different because by that time that store is paid for. By that time the mortgage is paid for. By that time the rent is much lower. So they can be around, they can exist, they can operate. It was just different the way that I was thinking. I always had the idea, the desire, the drive to want to grow the company. I had the desire to represent the best brands that I felt. And I never represented a brand that I didn't believe in. I never represented a brand that I felt, listen, I got to be able to sell it to my sisters. I got to be able to sell it to my family. I got to be able to sell it to my friends. And if I can't do that, then I don't want to represent this.
They don't need a car. They call it Mario. So tell me, let's fast forward. I mean, this was 24 years ago, roughly. You're still very acquisitive. You made a couple of recent acquisitions. We'll chat about it shortly. What's the biggest material weakness you're seeing in dealership environments today? As you're looking at, new opportunities, what are you seeing out there?
I think it's getting more complex. It's getting more competitive. You have a shrinkage in margins. You have a compression. You have pressure. And all those things create problems. So if you said to yourself, if someone started in the middle of COVID, they were riding a place, it's a high that they never had seen before and a high they may never experience it again. So then you think business is going to be like this forever. and when it stops, the train stops, you don't know what to do. And those are the times when you got to roll your sleeve and you got to go back to work in different ways. And I think every day you got to look at the business differently. I think every day you have to take a look at what is changing and how do I change with it? How do I adapt? And then how can I be proactive? Because if you can be proactive, then you're taking the actions and not having to react to everything. So I think those are important things we're doing. What separates, I think, a good business from another business? The people. People still are the stars. It's important to hire the right people. It's important to have a great team. It's important to have a great culture. It's important to train. It's important to educate them. It's important to treat them with respect, dignity. It's important to be able to have them see an opportunity for growth. It's important for them to say, I want to work in this company. Why do I want to work for this company? And what are the benefits of working in this company? All those things are imperative for us. When I tell them, I said, take a piece of the mission statement and read it every day in your daily huddles. And why? Because I think it's critical that they understand that mission statement, that they understand what we want to do, that they understand what we're all about. So I think that today the changes are dynamic, but not so much if someone wants to stay active and involved in their business the right way.
Mm-hmm. And what's your model in general? I mean, you're a large group with, I don't have you can tell me exact number of stores here. I don't want to make a mistake, but are you decentralized, centralized? Like what's a day in the life of a Murgado Auto Group in general?
So I would tell you that we were more decentralized, but now we try to centralize certain things because you want to make sure you have the same controls in place and is one thing. But the next part that you want is
29 locations, by the way. Huh? There we go. Don't want to make a mistake. 29 locations to be specific. Okay. All right. So go ahead.
You got it. In 5 states.
5 states. And let's not forget, 16 brands. I like it. So go ahead. So you were saying
we had always tried to give a lot of autonomy to a general manager, and we still do. But at the same time, you have to centralize some things so you can better control, so you can better handle, and you can let them be more focused on what needs to be done on their side. So if I had to tell you that the HR today is much more centralized, that if I had to tell you the back office is more centralized, if I had to tell you today that when it comes to buying the insurance, the medical, all those things, those are more centralized today that are there for us. We try to I bring our entire team, our general managers, our controller, trying to make them work together and work closer with our CFO, with our in-house counsel, with our partners, all of them. We take them on a quarterly basis. We have a quarterly meeting. So we take them for 14 days. I take out every year that are just for them. It's we go from a Sunday through a Wednesday, and we do it every quarter. It's to review the quarter. It's to review where we're at. It's to review what we're forecasting. But it's also How do we grow? Where do we grow? How do we do certain things? Here's the vision, and work close with that. Those are all things that I think are imperative to be able to do. How do you enhance your culture? What are the things that you're finding today that are more difficult that you want to be able to change it? How can we go better to change it? And there's a tremendous power when you can have, if you decide to have a company and grow it this way. We have 1,905 employees today. It's important for us to be able to grow it and have a collaboration among the general managers, because those are the ones that are the leaders. And I want them to have a servant heart. I want them to understand that they're accountable and responsible today for their stores. And in those stores, let's say you have 100 employees in that store. Think about that times 4, because 4 people per household. Now you're accountable for 400 people. So the decisions you make are going to affect 400 people. And then the next part I try to teach them, I said, let's do things from a ripple standpoint. When you're a GM, or in my case, you got to have ripple effects. You can't be a splash. If you have a splash, you shake things up. But in doing so, what are the advantages that we can do, and how do we do it better?
This episode is brought to you by Widewell, making reputation management effortless. If you've tried things like bonuses or QR codes to get more reviews at your dealership and still feel stuck, you're not alone. These tactics often fall flat, but that's where Widewell comes in. Their platform automates the review process by integrating directly with your DMS. No manual follow-up needed. And every review is handled by their expert US-based response team, so each review gets a custom response in less than 24 hours. Want real insights instead of guesswork? With voice of the customer analytics, Widewell uses AI to turn raw customer feedback into clear operational insights, so you know exactly what to fix and where to focus. And here's a special offer just for CDG listeners. Get 3 months of review response services free when you purchase the Widewell platform. That's 3 months free. So go to widewell.com/CDG to book a demo. That's WIDEWAIL.com/CDG, or click the link in the show notes below.
So speaking of growth, what would you say is your philosophy as you think about additional acquisitions? Are you looking at brands? Are you looking at regions? Are you looking at just anywhere but underperforming? What's your model?
No, our model is a little different. Our model is a model that I looked at built it back in 1999. It was a model, and I'm happy to share a little bit here. It's a model that said this: what separates me from someone else? I'm an immigrant. I'm Hispanic. I was born in Cuba. So what's the growing demographics in America? Hispanics. Where is it growing? And what is it like? So in 1999, there was an article that said by 2040, 2045, that becomes the majority. So I said, okay, that could be an interesting thing. No one's ever taking public Hispanic auto group. Not that we're taking it public, because I always said, if I wanted to go, I wanted to have the flexibility to have more options, either to go public with that, or if my family wants to stay with it, then it stays private with my sons, so they can move it as long as they learn and want to be in this business. So I wanted those two things to always be an availability to me, and that's what I'm trying to do. How did I grow it? It's for us, it's Miami. That's where we want to be. Next is Fort Lauderdale. Next for us is Orlando. Next for us is in Tampa, Jacksonville. Move west. Like to be in Texas, like to be in San Antonio, like to be in Dallas, like to be in Houston. I also like the border towns. So I like McAllen. I like Pharr. I like Brownsville. And people would say, Mario, why? I said, you'd be surprised how good the credit works there. And you know why? Because people who buy a car there, the car is a necessity. Absolute necessity, because they go to work in that car, and that car gets them to work every single day, so they can make and they can send money across the border to keep their families. It's more important than anything else.
Incredible.
Their performance does much better. If you took a look, if you were able to talk to Toyota Credit, if you were able to talk to Honda Credit, talk to GM, they would tell you how good their credit works in those areas. Those people, it's a necessity. So it's more important to do that.
It's not a want to have; it's a need to have. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's from there. I like to go to New Mexico, Albuquerque. Go to Tucson. Go to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, so you're legitimately outside of Florida. You're looking for pockets.
Yeah. I'm looking at areas that we can go that I think we can grow, and then I look at California. I always wanted to be in California, so we're in Orange County, which is great to be there. But I like Carlsbad, and I like San Diego also as well. And then the I-75 corridor, I go to Chicago. That's a natural for me. I grew up there, but in Chicago, it's the largest Hispanics in the entire Midwest. And then if you go up the I-95 corridor, New York and New Jersey, again, another large. So go there. Our only anomaly is, you would say, Virginia. but I love Virginia because it's next to Washington, D.C., and I go to Washington, D.C. often, and it's important for me. So it's I think what we have and where we want to fill in and what we want to do is really important.
Wow. That's, you piqued my interest. As someone who's, attempted to scale a large retailer focused on a niche, I think that's something that I never even considered. What I think many have considered and no one has executed on was, a retailer that's focused on women, which I think is still, has a big opportunity. But this is another incredible idea and niche, which you've clearly executed on. So I am curious, like if I was a public markets investor, like a PE company, and I was underwriting this, where I understand the thesis, but how are you driving incremental value, right? Like what are you doing by going to these pockets? What is your business? What is different about your business that is able to generate a better return than maybe someone who does not specialize in this market? Is it marketing led? Is it operationally led? Are you doing something materially different throughout the customer experience that is actually generating a better return than someone else will?
So I don't know what anybody else is doing in certain markets. I can only tell you what we're doing in those markets. I try to study, but I'd rather put my energy and effort on what I can influence versus what concerns me. What concerns me, it'll give me some ideas, but what I can influence really makes the difference. So here it is. Certainly we're going to measure the KPIs. Certainly we're going to create our own KPIs. Certainly we're going to do some things. You touched upon something, gender. I would tell you, I would challenge many stores. They don't have as many women as we do in South Florida working for us. We have a lot of women in the sales. We have women in management, and we look forward to having our first general manager woman also as well. And we do things that are a little different than other people do in that aspect there, because it's all at the end of the day. What I want to measure is performance and results. Here are the guide rules. Here are the parameters you have to work with, but we can grow at that. And we've been very successful in doing that all throughout. Margins are important. You have to maintain. If you don't respect yourself and the margin you need to have, then you won't be able to operate the right way. And if you can't operate the right way, then you can't take care of the customer the right way. I always try to share, if you go take a look at a great company, if you take a look at Honda, you take a look at Toyota, you take a look at Mercedes, you take a look at BMW, you take a look at all these great companies, you got to be able to make X dollars so you can go invest those dollars. If you want to deliver the experience you want these customers to have and they deserve, that's your clientele, then you got to be able to do those things. If you don't do it, you miss out. So it's important there. Our people, what's the culture we want to have? What's the experience you want to have? I think if you're not talking about that, if you're not building that, if you're not driving that, you miss out.
Let me tell you a story. So the other day I went to buy a tuxedo. So fun fact, I'm still wearing the tuxedo for my wedding. So it was a time, I said, I gotta upgrade, now getting invited to some events, you want to look good. So I went to buy a tuxedo, which is a rare event for me. Nonetheless, someone saw me at the store. He's like, hey, Yossi, a car dealership guy, which, by the way, doesn't happen often. So I was like, it's pretty cool. Like, oh, what's up, man? He said, hey, love your stuff. And he works at a local, marketing agency. You probably heard of them. They're called Stream. They're very close to me, like 30 minutes away. Anyway, so he said, Yossi, I have a request for you. I said, what's up? Talk to me. He said, I would love for you to talk a little bit about marketing to the Latin and Hispanic community. By the way, I'm totally I swear to God, this is a real story. And I said, okay. I said, that's good feedback. You're right. I haven't chatted about that. And then I went to thinking, I said, who can I ask about this? And then we had this podcast scheduled. So I said, of course I'm going to ask you about this. So my question to you with that long lead up is, what's different? What can you tell us about marketing to the Latin and Hispanic community, which is clearly what your business is built on in a big way, right? What is different about it? What should we know? Demystify that for me a little bit.
All right. The easiest way to say it to you is this. I think we're more family than anything else. And I think when we do business with them, it's all about family. And I think it's kind of the way we were brought up. We're doing it at the kitchen table. We're eating, but we're also doing our homework. And I think when I go sit down with someone or talk to them, or if Alex does or Rick does, I think that means a big difference to people like that. That you can, when you get my card, you get my cell number, you get my direct.
It's very warm.
You get my
very warm.
Line, that we care, that we're involved. That's just the way it is. It's a. I remember growing up, something that would always bother me. I had friends that says, no, when I'm 18, I got to leave the house because they forced me to leave the house. I don't think my mom ever wanted me to leave the house. That was never a thought. And certainly later on when I became a parent, I never thought about my kids leaving the house. So I think that's just something that's we're brought up with. I think it's something that's part about who we are. I think I get a kick. We'll go to the store here and we're delivering someone that, let's say it's a big deal when you're buying your first new car. They'll bring a la abuelita. They'll bring the grandpappies there. They'll bring the cousins there. They'll bring all the things. And I think all those things make a big difference. And I think at the very end, what they want the most and what they need the most is they have someone they can relate to and something that's being authentic. And I think authenticity works with everything, but I think it even works a little more with the Hispanic.
Incredible. And does that, tactically speaking, does this permeate into your advertising? Like the language you use, not like the actual Spanish versus English, but like the type of phrases you use, the type of marketing in general, right? Like we see a lot of deal oriented stuff, right? $99 or whatever, $500, whatever. I'm clearly not 99, but $500 a month, Like, does that permeate into your advertising in a different way?
Sure.
Well?
It's permeated more and maybe less in different times. I think today the digital world does things where it even allows then your people to create their own brand or sub-brand, let's say, within your company to go do that. So if you're a young woman that's been here for 4 or 5 years, she's already has a clientele base. Let's say if she's here 4 years, 500, 600, 700 customers already there. And that is her own brand, and she really doesn't even work anymore really taking any ups or any new customers. She's building off the customer base she has, the retention she has.
She's got a book.
Right. And then she's talking to her friends and saying, hey, do you know anyone here? And then she'll post something on Instagram that says, look, we got this new special. We have this car now. It's a Mazda CX-7. They got this hybrid, boom. And she'll get her own business that way. Same thing for the guys. I think that's a neat thing that develops, but I think the store also needs to have that. I think we try sometimes too many things. I think I always tell people, I said, look, you can't be everything. You can't be a jack of all trades. You got to be more specific. If you're more specific, you're going to go win, and you'll win over the long haul. You'll do more, because if they understand you, if they see you and they see your face and they trust your face and they know you, and you've been around, they'll trust you more. And I think that's an important part that sometimes we want to change. And we want to change because the industry changes so fast and things are changing so fast. We want to try the latest things. Now you have the component of AI. And what is AI going to do? Look, AI can help you write the descriptions you want. AI can help you to do a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, and it can help you with the pictures, and it can help you with the setup, and it can help you with the video. I said, but there's got to be a human element to it there. It's not that easy. It's not a jukebox where you can drop the dollars and press the button and it comes out. So don't miss out. Utilize that tool to help you, to facilitate for you, to help you do things quicker, faster, better, accuracy, all that. But still, it's the individuals. And don't forget that.
Wow. Especially with a group like yours, with the emphasis you put on, this culture, it seems like it goes against, in a way, right? To have, like you said, the human aspect, that the robot, chatting with a person doesn't feel like it's like second nature or something in your group.
Yeah, no, it's will there be components of that in the future? I'm sure there will be. Will there be things that will do more? Yeah, because the evolution of the business takes you there.
Of course,
it'll be.
You got to keep progressing. Yeah.
When Roadster came out, I remember, we were there, but at the end of the day, does it deliver the way you want? No, it doesn't yet. But eventually, I can see somebody who wants to be up at 1 a.m, doing everything at 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's the store's not open at 1 o'clock in the morning, but they're doing that at 1 a.m.
I had Alan Haig on the podcast, buy-sell advisor, and he mentioned ICE raids impacting South Florida dealerships. Have you noticed an impact on that from that?
Look, I think like everything right now, yes, it has impacted. We had a Friday here that we lost 24 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a month ago. I think we had 31 or 32 vehicles returned to us, and these are good people, wonderful people, honorable people that worked for us, that did a great job for us. And it was sad to see, because they received a letter and they lived here for X period of time and had to go and they had to quit working here. And then the people who returned the cars, think about this, that's someone else could have done something different. They came here, listen, I have to leave. I'm going to make arrangements to leave. Here's my car back. Give it back to Honda Finance, or give it back to GM Finance, or give it back to Chase, or give it back to whoever. So I think we don't think about all the things that the ripple effect with this has. I support what our president does. I support what our local congressmen and congresswomen and senators do. But like everything in life, you can go too far. So I think, everyone here would want to have, at least for me, I would say this: anyone who's a criminal, you don't want them here, and they shouldn't be here. And that looseness that we had, but you can overblow it by too much.
Overswing the pendulum.
Yeah. And I think that's a little bit what's happening right now, but I think it'll get corrected. It needs to get corrected. And at the end of the day, I think we're just much better than that. This country's too good. And I'm trusting that the people that are at the head and are running, that they're better than that also as well. And they'll correct that and they'll fix that.
This episode is brought to you by Nomad Content Studio. Many dealerships are still getting social media completely wrong. They either ignore it, post inventory photos, or hand it off to someone on staff with no strategy. Meanwhile, the dealership down the street is racking up millions of views and turning those views into real car sales. That's where Nomad Content Studio comes in. They're the team behind the dealers you actually see online. Their system trains a videographer, tells you exactly what, who, and how to film, then storyboards, clips, the raw footage, and posts the content daily across all your social platforms. They literally do it all for you. They're the same team behind some of the top dealerships and biggest automotive influencers today. I believe in them so much that I even personally invested in them. If you want your dealership to be next, head to trynomad.co. That's trynomad.co to book a call, or click the link in the show notes below.
On that Friday when that happened, I mean, what goes through your mind at that moment?
It's sad. And it's how can you help them? I've helped before. What attorneys can do certain things, what attorneys can't do. But at the end of the day, it's a sad day. Look, I've always been a supporter of the Dreamers. And the Dreamers are kids that came more or less my age. So if you came here to this country and you're 4 years old or 5 years old, all you know is this country. That's all you know. It's not somewhere else where you came from, where you're born. All you know is here. And if you've done good in school, and if you worked hard in school, and you're going out of college, and you're finishing college, you're going to be someone that's going to be, I think, successful. You're going to be successful in society. You're going to pay your taxes. You're going to grow in this. So I hate losing that. And I especially hate someone that has an education, that's prepared himself, certain things. So I care a lot about that. It's, for me, it's important.
I think the point you bring up is that things are nuanced, and, being in the media business, and personally having tweeted 30,000 times in the last 3.5 years, I can tell you that what gets the most attention are very binary, black and white, opinions, thoughts, discourse. Like, a nuanced, sober perspective does not travel as far as a very stark, kind of one-sided. And so the problem with that is it polarizes opinions and discourse, and and I'm giving a more macro take on what's happening, but I think that's you just said it yourself. You're like, on one hand I support the president, on the other hand I don't support the way this is happening. So that's a nuanced perspective, which I think people can appreciate, and you don't see that every day. It's very like one-sided. And I think that creates issues, just like what you described.
Yeah, and look, and I think about that very much, and I say to myself, hey, I try to be involved in our politics. I try to elect the best person that I think can do it. I try to elect things. I very much want to give people who serve in our military much more of a chance. I take a look at this country and I say to myself, if you take a look at through growth and everything else, I think those that served in our military did a much better job. Why? Because it wasn't are they red or they blue. It wasn't about Republican or Democrat. It's about a patch here that says USA. It's a flag. And it's like, you can have your ideologies, you can have your thoughts, you can have your own opinions. But then you know what? Because you served, you learn how to collaborate. You learn how to talk. You learn how to discuss things. And you and I can have different opinions, but if we have a conversation about it, we'll respect each other through those different opinions. And we'll probably look for what we have more common than what we have less common with. And other folks aren't that. I hate to say it, we have today more attorneys, and they're taught in life to put things in silos. And when you do that, that creates a problem. And it's not about your voice being bigger than mine or my voice being bigger than yours. At the end of the day, it's about rolling our sleeves. Hey, listen, we have a problem. How do we best address it? What's the best solutions we do? No one has fixed it. The Republicans haven't fixed it. The Democrats haven't fixed it over time. Certainly what we were doing the last 3 years wasn't good, but I certainly want to make sure that we do a better job than what we're doing today.
Do you think you're going to go public one day?
No, my son loves the business. My son enjoys the business. He's been 18 years. He's been well trained, and if you talk to him, he would tell you, listen, I'm not easy. And Alex has worked hard with him. Rick has worked hard with him. So he's prepared. He's prepared for the next step. So I feel very, very good that this will be a family business that will continue in perpetuity. And I'm happy about that.
Do you see yourself turning the dial down and maybe getting to some other things? Or are you Murgado for the next 20, 30 years?
So I don't think I'll retire ever, because I never thought about that. And I never, when people would ask me at a younger age, what do you think about this? I said, look, you evolve. As long as I am active, that I can give and I can help this company do better, then I want to be here helping and help do better. When I can't, then it's somebody else should be doing it. When I join a board, I never join a board if I don't have the desire to be the chairman of it. So I never join a board that I'm not chairman of it. Because if I have anything less than the desire to be the chairman of it, guess what? Then I'm not giving 100%. And I have a fiduciary responsibility when I go work for that board or to participate in that board to give 100%. And so I don't, that's just the way I decide things. So here I want to dedicate to do the best I can, help where I know I can help, give where I think I can give. But one day if it's not, then it's not. Would I like different things that we diverse ourselves in? Sure. I think in our industry, you need to have different things that you can grow. Today, we go certain ways, but would it be real estate? Would it be properties? Would it be development? Would it be marketing? Would it be advertising? All these things. There's an array of things that can accompany our business and support our business, from transport companies to so many other things.
Have you diversified into anything interesting, non-traditional, other than real estate? No,
real estate's really what I've done the most for us here. The internet company that we had is another area that we had done for us early on. But we're looking now at development, different things. We're looking at certain things in real estate world to develop more real estate. Today I find a need for pricing and the pricing of housing has gone up. So if I can build something that I think can deliver on that need well, that's something we're exploring really well now. We look in Stewart to build 250 units there, 250 units where it's for rentals. And
where is that at?
In Stewart, Florida. So it's for us, it's north of Palm Beach. In that site, we originally started with 12 acres. We bought an additional 22 acres. And on that 22 acres, we want to develop really a retail concept there. So we'll have restaurants, we'll have car wash.
Wow.
Different things, but we also have further development there. And I think it's all part of the business changing and growing.
Incredible. Mario, before we wrap up, this has been just an incredible conversation. I had so much fun, and I hope you did as well. What's for our young listeners, just what's like one piece of advice you'd give for, it can be an up and coming GM, a salesperson, just people that are coming up through the business. What's a word you'd like to pass on to them?
Well, if you allow me, I'd like to give you a couple. So the first one is be intentional. Be intentional. I think way too often people are doing things and their intentions aren't there. So be intentional about everything you do. The next one, never stop learning. Never think that you know it all. Never stop learning. And God gave you 2 ears, so listen.
Oh,
you talk.
I swear to you, and I know I'm cutting you off when you say that, so it's really ironic, but I was going to add on to that at the end and say, shut up and listen. That's just unbelievable that we had the same one for the third one. That's crazy. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here in disbelief right now. I'm about to say it, because you could have said, like, listen more than you speak, but you said God gave you 2 ears, so you listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah.
That is just crazy. Wow. I'm blown away right now. That's a clip right there. We got to clip that. That's too good.
You got it.
And the most ironic part is that I cut you off right when you said that. You see, unbelievable.
Not a problem.
Got to take my own advice. God gave you 2 ears, so you listen twice as much as you speak. Mario Murgado, Murgado Auto Group. You have an incredible dealership there on 95. Every time I pass it, I see the massive Murgado on the side. Can only imagine. It can't even quantify the return on investment of that, but that's a good one. Love that. So,
please stop.
Mario Murgado.
Please stop one day.
I will.
There and I'll show you.
I will. I know you have well, before actually we wrap up, let's end on that note. You built a Cadillac museum. And so when you initially mentioned Cadillac in the beginning, I was going to ask you about that, but I said, let's pump the brakes. We'll get to that. So please tell me about that. Like, what is this museum? How did this come to be? It's
my love for cars. It's my collection of cars over the years, 40 years plus of collecting cars, saving cars. I have my first Corvette I bought. So It's that important to me. It's that important to me. And Cadillac to me, it's like something that my father put in my mind and said to you, if you ever made it, then you would have a Cadillac. And blessed to have not only have a Cadillac, but to have a Cadillac dealership and share that with other folks is really important to me. And it's a 62,000 square foot, store that's state of the art. But we also have a museum so people can come and enjoy. And you have no idea the events we've done, the events we continue to do, that people come in and see. Because when you look at the past, some of those cars there are things that you dreamed about when you were a kid and you thought about it, and maybe you never had it, but that's what I try to bring there for them, and that's what I want them to see. And then I give them a history lesson on Cadillac a little bit. I break it down by decades. And I remind them of some of their advertising that I have around also as well. And then I bring the future to them. I show them racing and where Cadillac's at today and now soon to be an F1. So those are all things that are important.
Very aspirational. Wow. It's so incredible. I'll definitely come. I have to come check it out. So I'm looking forward to that. Mario, appreciate you joining us. It's been incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give the podcast a rating, consider subscribing to the show, and check the show notes for links to what we talked about. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.